And we are back. The 2020 census is fast approaching, and an inclusion of a new question regarding citizenship status has been the topic of controversy. Here to explain and tell us a little bit more about this issue and how it actually can affect New Yorkers, more particularly Bronxites, is Assemblyman Victor Pichardo. We welcome you to the show. Good to have you.
Always a pleasure being here with you.
Good. We'll talk a little bit about the budget later because I know you are just lacking sleep, but we're glad to talk about the issue of the census coming up. We know that there's some questions that are on the census that really are controversial to some. So let's walk people through where we are with this one particular question and what we can do.
So first of all, what's the Trump administration included in their census is the question on whether or not you're a U.S. citizen, right? So this creates a lot of consternation and worry for a lot of my constituents, particularly, and folks who live in the state of New York. You know, the Attorney General of the United States basically said this is about protecting the people's access to the ballot and voting, which I think is nonsense. What this question basically does, it gives less of an incentive for minority communities and immigrant communities to answer the census, and the reason why is because the president has been running into a wall legislatively in Congress, even with control in both houses in the Congress and in the Senate. And states like New York and California that have large Democratic majorities have created a lot of consternation and concern for the president. So what he's trying to do is limit our voice and limit our power. And the way to doing that is limit our participation in the census, which means that it would reduce the amount of seats in Congress. It would reduce the money that's allocated to the states, particularly New York, California, and reduces our ability to fight back against the president's ridiculous policies.
So but let's go back though. There was a question kind of similar before, right?
Yeah, but again, it was fought back and forth in the courts decades ago. And basically, when the Constitution was created, the idea was to create an accurate and fair assessment of how many people live here. It doesn't talk about citizens. It says, and specifically says residents. And to that effect, myself joined a bunch of my colleagues not only in the Congress but also with the Attorneys Generals of New York and Oregon to file a lawsuit against the Trump administration to remove this question from the census, because again it reduces the mechanism of the census's ability to actually have a fair and full account of the folks who live in this country and by extension in New York State.
How do you feel the public is perceiving this right now? Because, you know, a lot of people look at the census and they say, listen, is this a question that I could just deal with and answer, or do I not answer it at all? I mean, how do you think the public is perceiving this?
Well, from what I've heard from my constituents, basically it's another intimidation tactic by the Trump administration. Well, you know, what's happening, you know, and the thing is with the president's policies from his inception of his presidential candidacy, where he called Mexicans rapists and murderers, to the fact that he's trying to reduce or even stop folks of the Muslim faith to come into the United States, from the things that he said, the glowing things that he said about white supremacists, we know that the president has, not people say, you know, a racist tilt and a racist tint in how he sees the world. So this is just simply another chapter in the story of how the president perceives communities of color across this country, and particularly trying to limit their voice and their representation, not only in Congress, but for their government.
And so what's your advice to residents?
Well, what I tell folks is the most important thing is, regardless of immigration status or anything like that, a person should fill out the census. Again, we're talking about billions and billions of federal dollars. We're talking about representation in Congress. We're talking about our voices to be heard. The question right now is that now there's an injunction in the courts. We just have to wait till the legal process plays out. But I encourage folks to fill out the census to the degree that they feel comfortable with. But the important thing is that they fill out this document, either the long or the short form.
Of course, and we'll continue to keep our constituents here on BronxNet up to date with what's going on with that. The census will be out soon, and certainly a lot of people have a lot of questions, so we'll be following that.
Absolutely.
In other news, you clean up well.
I try. I try.
You've been up since 4 in the morning till 4 in the morning this past couple of weeks. You know, dealing with a budget here in New York State.
Sure.
That we finally got past it. I can't let you out of here without talking about the budget. Your perspective on the budget passage?
I think, look, it was a an interesting process. It always is, but I have a ton of faith in our speaker and local Bronxite, it's Carl Hasty, and he was able to deliver for Bronxites and for New Yorkers across the state. And I'm proud to be part of that effort. We did a lot of good things. There were a lot of not so good things in the budget, but that's the back and forth within the negotiation. Total number is $168.32 billion, one of the largest state budgets in the country. Again, for me, we were able to deliver more money for after-school programs, more money for opportunity programs so kids can go to college. Also, we've been able to expand the Excelsior, or the free college program, to include all colleges, regardless of if they're proprietary, not-for-profit, or public, or whatever designation that they have, just to make sure that people have more of an opportunity to choose the school that they want to go to, and that doesn't break the bank when they graduate.
So we talked about what's good. What do you perceive as challenges?
So, there was this huge back and forth between, there was something that was included in the budget that had to do with creating standards for private parochials, for yeshivas, and there was a sort of the circumventing of the system with SED. I think we were able to beat back a lot of the worst of it, but I know that it's creating, I think, sort of something. It's creating a system where folks who are graduating and going to school in yeshivas aren't getting the full secular scope of education that they should be. But I know that in consultation with SED and the Commissioner Ilya, we should be able to work through this where we can find the happy medium so kids, regardless of their religious backgrounds or where they come from, can get a full spectrum secular education that makes them competitive in a global economy.
I know the speaker came out as it was getting down to almost an impasse and
Sure.
said that this is something that really the state education department really needs to handle
Absolutely.
and to be able to deal. How much did you feel that was important in getting that message out so that way the budget can go past?
Well, first of all, they talk about, I don't think politicians should be forming education policy as a whole, as in carte blanche. I think we have individuals in the state education department. We have regents to help with creating, crafting policy because they are education experts. And we consult with teachers, we consult with students. We do make sure to create the policy that is fair and sound for everybody. So this is what the speaker is trying to say, is that SED should have a role to play to make sure that education is done in a fair and full way for everybody, regardless of religion, regardless if they go to public or private school or charter or whatever, that they have access to a full and fair education.
And the last question I'll get before we get out of here is, many times people hear about the budget being passed and then they ask the question, how long before the money actually rolls out to our community? How long do you estimate before you see things happen?
Well, it depends on what it is, but I know that, everything, it runs on fiscal years. So it's, we go to the 2018, 2019 fiscal budget because our budgets run through April. So it depends on the program, depends on where the pot of money comes from within the budget, if it's capital, if it's programmatic or something. But for example, for the after school money that we allocated, it should be within this calendar year that should be allocated. So programs like Advantage After School should be able to continue to run their programs without the risk of have to cut down seats or making or reducing programming for these kids who need these programs and these after school programs.
All right, Assemblyman Victor Pichardo, 86th Assembly District.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you for coming and hanging out.
Thank you.
All right, listen, take a quick break. We got more open coming up. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.